Carol, Mr. Factual Physique. Welcome to the Lifestyle Lifters Show. Adam, thanks for being here.
Oh, Adrian, thanks for having me on.
Absolute pleasure, my man. Adam, before we get you to share your backstory, share something about yourself that most people do not know.
No, I knew this was coming because I haven't listened to a couple of the other podcasts. I was like,
My man, you're
this is
prepared.
coming,
I
this is
love
coming.
it.
For same for a lot of this podcast, it's like, will I prepare kind of answers or will I not? And I was like, no, I'm just gonna kind of go in free ball and be honest about everything and be my true self. But no, the thing that I was thinking, I was trying to think of something really interesting, but it's like I think it's just that I'm weirder than most people know. Like, or that I think a lot of people are like this to themselves. Like, I'll talk to myself all the time. I'll like, if I'm just driving in the car, I'll just be making weird sounds. I think things like that, which is like everyone will be like, "Oh yeah, I do that too," but like no one says it. I think I'm just, or maybe that's just me. Maybe it's just me being weirder than I probably come across.
Yeah, no, man, I absolutely love that. Like, just these, everyone's weird in their own way, whether we admit it or not,
Yeah,
whether
yeah,
we
yeah,
show it on social media or not, man. Absolutely, I there's definitely a few weird things that I do that I don't always share. So that's
yeah,
awesome,
yeah,
man.
man.
So Adam, we're going to kind of dive into this. So obviously, you're an online fitness coach at the moment, but like, let's just kind of bring it back. Let's bring it back to the start. Like, what
Yeah.
got you into fitness in the first place, and how did this transition into your full-time career?
Yeah, so like fitness started the same way I think it starts for most people. I was always into every type of sport. If you look back at my first year school yearbook, I'm in every single picture. I tried out for everything, loved it all. But was I good at it? No, probably not. I was like that average kind of kid that was just played everything, enjoyed sport. And that's probably where it started from a lot. As you get older and up the age, it's like hurling was my main sport. So as you kind of start being introduced to a little bit more strength and conditioning style, I realized that, I enjoyed it, I liked it. Then when it came along to like becoming, 16, the typical age you'll join the gym, I headed down with a couple of my friends, and like from that first session, I just fell in love with it. I really, really did. And since that day, I remember so strongly walking home with my friend, and him, telling me all those probably myths, of like, oh, you need to drink your protein straight away, all these kind of things
Or you
after the
lose your
session.
gains.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember just getting in the door and being like to my mom, I need to start eating more. You need to start cooking more food. I need to, do more like with food and that. And from that day, it was a key focus and it was a major pillar for me. That, kept a certain element of stability and certainty in my life. And when I reached about 17, then I had a big injury with my knee, and I wasn't able to play sports anymore. So that allowed me just to jump into fitness, and like with sport being such a key part of my life, the gym really took over for that, and I just loved it. So it started off as just going because my friends were going and because I liked it to an extent, and whether it was like, oh, I want to look good, for girls or things like that. But then it became so
Yeah,
much more,
yeah,
which
yeah.
it always does, I think.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. And over what we'll say when you finished school, then Adam, did you go like straight into just personal training? Did you go to college, or was this just something you knew straight off the back that this is what you wanted to do?
Yeah, it really wasn't something I knew I wanted to do. It was, firstly, I think like the whole school system was like, oh, you need to go to college.
Yeah.
I don't agree with it. I firmly believe in like find your passion and do that every day. Like I so firmly believe that. But for me, it was a case of like, going to the guidance counselor and them just saying, "Oh, we need to find a college course that you like." Or so from there, I knew I kind of had an interest, obviously, in sport and things like that, and I also liked the food side of it. So we threw down a load of courses on the CAO, to do with nutrition, to do with sport. But again, I was never good at school because I like had the ability, but I just didn't know why I was doing it, didn't have a focus. So it led me on to, not doing very well in my leaving cert. I think I got like maybe 200 points or something along the lines of that. Just because I didn't know why I was doing it, I didn't really care too much.
Gotcha.
And that then led me on to getting offered a course, like, but it wasn't really something I wanted to do. It was culinary arts, and it just wasn't really something I was that passionate about. I was like, I don't really want to commit to that. So it was coming up to then September, then the following year, and I think my mom had said to me, "Oh, there's a course down the road, you know, in one of the local kind of further education colleges, Crumlin College here in Dublin," and it was like a gym instruction course. So I was like, didn't really have any other kind of option. So I said, "Right, okay, I'll try it out." So I'd done that for a year. It was okay, very basic. Looking back now, it was very basic, but for what I needed then, it was something that just gave me a
100%.
bit more stability.
Yeah.
And I knew that like I wanted to go on to college because that was kind of ingrained in my head. So it was like kind of a stepping stone. But I realized at the end of that year that, that course doesn't really get you onto too much more. There's a couple of smaller courses you can get onto, but nothing really major. So I kind of then had my eyes set on a sports science degree. So from there, I found out, what course I need to do to get into that. So I'd done another course, which was like just a very general science course. I think it was like laboratory techniques or something. Basically, just all leaving cert subjects, like in and around that ordinary to higher level. And it was difficult enough. It was a difficult year, but I like knew it was like the goal was set. I was like, okay, I need to do this to get on to sports science, and so I eventually got onto that, and that's where I am today in my fourth and final year.
Wow.
So kind of a different route than most people would take, but I think it worked out well, and the best thing I got from all that was maturity, I think, and confidence was a big thing, over the years.
Just goes to show, yeah, man. Like, if plan A isn't there, there's always plan B, C, and
yeah,
just like,
absolutely, yeah.
I feel with the leaving cert especially, it's kind of like there's only one kind of way. You just gotta do like everyone else. You gotta go to college, do a career you don't know anything about because you've no experience in that, and you're expected at the age of 17, 18 to know what you want to do for the rest of your 80,
Yeah,
hopefully 90 years of existence.
it's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's a
It's
bit of a
honestly,
flawed system, man. It
yeah, and for
really is.
yourself, I know yourself, your background as a teacher as well.
Yeah, there we go, man. Like, yeah, just teaching. Kind of thought it was for me because I wasn't really sure if I wanted to do anything else. And not saying that I hated it. Like, I really there's so many parallels Adam between
There's
what
a
we
big
do
crossover
as
as well.
coaches. Yeah, of course, progression, regression, everything in between, challenging. But at the same time, it was just something I jumped into without knowing a whole lot about. So look,
Yeah,
just for anyone listening there, it doesn't matter if you're 17, doesn't matter if you're early 20s, doesn't matter if you're in your 30s or your 40s. I mean, this is your life at the end of the day. You're going to be spending about 1/8 of your life, 1/3 of your day, or 1/3 of your day, 8 hours of your day working. So you may as well try do something that you get to do rather than you have to do. So Adam, let's kind of
absolutely.
transition, man. As of recording this, so you're about post 10 days, almost 2 weeks, stepping
Yeah,
up in stage. So for anyone who doesn't check out Adam or isn't familiar with him, check out his Instagram at Factual Physique. Got absolutely shredded to the bone. But we know, Adam, it takes work to get there. And there's always a backstory to how you got there. So Adam, why don't you share, you stepped up on stage at 80 kilos, but you
yeah,
started your cut at 113, or you finish your bulk, we should say, at 113
yeah,
kilos. That's a lot of weight to shed there, Adam. So why don't you
yeah.
talk to us first of all about maybe the bulk, and then about the cut period that transitioned.
Yeah, so I think to start off, I've always wanted to compete. It's something I've always wanted to do. Um, just like being obsessed from day one. When I started the gym, of looking at the likes of Rob Lipser, looking at these YouTubers competing,
Yes.
or whether it was looking at Pumping Iron, the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. It was something I love
I
love
love that
the
film, man.
aspect of it. Yeah, it's incredible. I've watched it like numerous amount of times, but yeah, it was something. It was something I just liked it. I just loved it, and it was something I always wanted to do, but I've always just been held back by the confidence of stepping on stage. I was like, oh, I'd love to do it, but it's just that stepping on stage, stepping in front of people is the biggest fear of mine. So, going back then, so I've always been kind of doing the bulk and the cutting stages, and I always like done it successfully, I think twice previous, and then I said, right, I'm going to take 2 years off, and just try bulk and actually put on a bit of size rather than just going back and forth and shedding the same amount of fat and
Gotcha.
have the same amount of muscle. I was like, right, I'll take 2 years, and
Wow.
throughout that period, a lot happened. It's a long time, and the goal, at the end of the previous cut was like, okay, I'm going to bulk for 2 years. I'm going to keep as lean as possible. But for me, it just didn't go to plan. It was hard. It was through COVID. A lot of the excuses, I'll say, but they were valid excuses at the time. With the gym being closed, turning to food maybe as a sense of relief from all the craziness, like a stress reliever.
Coping
Um,
mechanism. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. And then between the whole time as well, that probably 6 months into my book, as I shared recently, and something I never shared before, was that I had this major life changing point, for me, where I hit absolute rock bottom with anxiety and with panic, and that obviously had a major effect as well. That there's no longer just the goal of like, oh, I'm bulking, or I'm these kind of not superficial goals, but like compared to being at a point that you're so low in your life, there's nothing really, nothing really matters much more than
Of
that.
course.
So
Yeah.
being thrown off completely with that, led to me, getting to this weight that I felt so uncomfortable at. I felt horrible. Like, to name a couple of the you know disadvantages, or cons, if you want to say, that every single pair of my trousers rips in the middle,
Yeah.
from my legs rubbing off each other, going up the stairs, being out of breath, feeling
Yeah.
like absolute
Yeah.
crap all the time. So again, that's not going to help with my anxiety, my mental health. Like feeling so sluggish, not being able to get out of bed, to 2 or 3 in the day, going to bed then late, just an awful
Yeah.
lifestyle. Um,
Yeah.
but with my own journey that I share on social media, and that of course I'm never going to show that, because that's not the way it works.
Sure.
But
Highlight
now,
reel.
yeah, it's a highlight reel, and,
Yeah.
and now, coming out with the whole like anxiety, it feels like, how someone may come out with their sexuality, it feels like that for me, that it's different to compare those, but it feels like for me that it's this sense of relief or weight lifted off my shoulders, that I no longer have to like hide, or like cross over conversations where someone brings something up that may trigger me in a certain way, or that I don't want anyone to know about my anxiety or anything like that. So it really feels like a big weight lifted off my shoulders. It's nice, and still managing, still learning to live with it is a big thing. But yeah, like getting into that focus of, okay, I'm going to start cutting now. Like, and it was always planned, but all the
Yeah.
bumps in the road came.
Yeah.
It was like really nice to then say, okay, I have this focus to better myself. It was so nice to
Yeah.
have that.
Brilliant. Yeah. Yeah, man. First of all, yeah, super powerful. Just sharing that about anxiety, and I think, look, nobody is perfect. And talking isn't a sign of weakness. It really is a sign of strength. And everyone has like different ways of coping with it. For me, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Iron Cowboy. He's this
No,
American,
no, no.
50 days, 50 consecutive Ironmen in a row. For anyone who doesn't know what an
That's
Ironman is,
incredible.
it's a
Yeah, yeah.
marathon, which is 42 miles. Now, first of all, it's a 1 mile swim, 1.6 mile swim, 112 mile bike ride, followed
Mm.
by a 42 mile run. That is one Ironman. He
Yeah.
did 50 in a row.
Was this a Netflix documentary? Was it? Am I wrong?
I actually think there is, yeah, the
There
Iron
was.
Cowboy is its name.
Yeah,
But
I think I may have. Yeah, come across it.
it's so remarkable. But he speaks about having an alter or a different identity. And just when you say about your anxiety, what I kind of do is, I'm signing in when I'm working, I'm signing in as Mac Lifestyle Fitness. I'm not Adrian
Yeah,
McDonald, I'm Mac Lifestyle Fitness. When I
yeah,
train, my alter ego, I just call him Ado. Like
yeah, yeah,
he's the guy I want to be. But then that bitch voice in your head that you don't like, I also give
yeah,
that a
yeah.
name too. That's called Pascal. And when Pascal shows up,
I
I
love
know
that.
what because I don't like the name Pascal. And
Yeah, no,
and
neither do I. Yeah. It's funny.
and I know what triggers Pascal. I know what kind of things bring him up. And just when you said there, having that awareness of, you know, these different triggers that cause your anxiety, it's actually, the first step is just acknowledging that you get it. And then the second step is just putting in routines and rituals to actually, you know, go the other direction. And you mentioned having focus. I love you said, you know, where focus goes, energy flows with the butt or with the cut. So
Yeah,
let's bring it back, Adam. So 113 kilos, you decide to do your cut then. So we're recording this. You stepped up on stage in April 2022.
yeah,
Adam didn't do
correct.
his cut in February 2022, July 2021. He gave himself, what's that, 10 months, almost 10 months.
Yeah. 9 or 10 months, I believe. Yeah,
So
it's
let's
a
talk us
long
through that,
time.
Adam. Yeah, let's talk us through that. Like, was July 1st always the time you said you were going to start, or was it just a case that, look, I'm fed up feeling like this. I just want to go the other way now?
It was July 1st. Like usually, like in the previous times I had cut, it was always like the April 1st. I'll be ready for summer, that kind of thing. But this time it was like going to do it April 1st, and I was like, oh, I just need 2 more months of bulk, and not that I wanted like to eat a certain amount of food or like just to pig out for another 2 months. It was more so it's just like, oh, I'm afraid, what if I cut now and like I don't have enough muscle on me? I'll do 2 more months because all the kind of COVID, not having the gym. I have the gym now. I'll just push for 2 more months, that kind of thing. So it came up to that kind of point. I was like, okay, July 1st, I'm starting. Was the date.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. So tell us, Adam, what's the process? What did you change? How did you implement this?
Yeah, so I went about it a way that I implement with every single one of my clients, probably very similar to yourself, like a sustainable aspect. I'm going for it. With that regard, like that, it has to work long term. It can't be, me being that weight, a crazy weight, a crazy amount of fat that I put on. There's no point in me just cutting and being a massive deficit and starving myself. It doesn't have to be that way. It really doesn't. It can be so. I, I I hate saying easy because it's not easy for most people, but because I have that knowledge there that I know, like, oh, I just need to be in a deficit to lose weight. I just need to, pick up, the habits, and do it for a long period of time. And it's just the consistency that wins at the end of the day. So it was just about me saying, okay, like I started my cut on 4,500 calories, which is crazy. Like that's a massive amount.
A lot of food.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but I was bulking on 5,000, so there's no
Yeah.
need to pull it any further than that. So
Yeah.
for a long time, probably even up to maybe early on this year, it really didn't even feel like a cut for me because I was like so like chilled with it that I was just like had so much food to eat, and I was sick of food by the end of the bulk. I really was. I
Yeah.
like was like getting to the stage where I was force feed myself things like that. That with the like trying to get my protein and oats in the
With the
evening, and
ricer, yeah, the shakes, yeah.
yeah. So I was delighted. I was like, it probably was a little bit easier in that sense that I was delighted that like I was looking forward to being on the
Yeah.
like 2,000 calories because it's like I don't have to focus on eating food all day. Now, of course, then when I'm on 2,000 calories, it's a different story. I'm like, I wish I had more, but um, throughout that period, of just easing down, it was very seamless. And through that period of controlling the calories, like, workouts still stayed the same. Didn't
Yeah.
really even introduce cardio, until probably maybe early on this year, like 2022, the last couple of months. So it was a nice process, and it's the same process, I'll always take with every client. It's like we don't need to move mountains, we just need to be that little bit better every week.
100%.
Tiny. It could be, doing 10 extra steps a day, 100 extra steps a week. It doesn't have to be massive. I think that's the misconception a lot of people fall for. They're like, oh, I need to be on it. I need to be starving myself. I need to have everything perfect. It's just not the case. It really isn't.
100%. But an important point too, Adam, is, and that's why I wanted to specify, like Adam didn't
Yeah.
just start his cut 8 weeks before it. Whereas, you gave yourself time. And when you've
Mm.
time and you've a process and a formula you can rely on, it just makes the whole thing much more chilled out. Like you could go out even at Christmas time or enjoy Christmas with your
Oh yeah,
family,
absolutely. Yeah.
these big events. Whereas what a lot of people tend to do is, oh yeah, I'm going on holiday, I'm going to a wedding, and 3 weeks, 2 weeks before it, yeah, kind of wouldn't mind starting to lose a bit of weight now. So they just go
yeah,
complete unsustainable methods, unsustainable results. They're not able to eat out during that time. They're not able to enjoy themselves. They're on baby calories, they're liquid diets. None of that is necessary if you just give yourself enough time. So I think that's a
yeah,
real
exactly.
important point here. Just for anyone listening, you got to give yourself time. Don't overestimate what you can do in a month and underestimate what you can do in a year. A lot can be done, but it does take time. It's a process. And tell us for you, Adam, um, sustainability, making it enjoyable. Obviously, food plays a big role in this. And, for anyone who follows Adam on his IG page, you do share some lovely, tasty,
Yeah,
really good looking recipes there. So tell us, like, just what really is the importance of including foods that you enjoy so it doesn't even feel like a diet, more so a lifestyle?
yeah. Like I always look just to the facts of it that, we just need to be in a calorie deficit. Now, does the makeup of that, you know, is it important? Yes. Like, do we need to look at like our nutrients like that we're intaking? Do we need to look at our vitamins, minerals, make sure all that's covered, our micronutrients? Yes, that's important. So like balance is the key with that. That I want to eat the foods I like. Same with any of my clients. I want them to eat the foods they like, but we need to have this element of balance. And by having that, and having the moderation, it becomes like again, I hate saying the word easy, but it becomes tolerable, I guess. And that you have this balance where it's like, okay, I'll have oats and fruit for my breakfast, and then maybe lunchtime I'll have something like I can have pizza if I like to have pizza, or it's all about just having this balance, and that we're never cutting out any food that we like, because as soon as we cut out a food, it causes restriction, and the restriction leads to a build-up of cravings, and then a possible binge or going off track. So by just having this balance of moderation throughout, and like having a really steady run at it, a lot can be achieved. Whereas if you're constantly in this cycle of, as people will say, quote unquote, good days, bad days, it
Yes,
just turns into this
absolutely.
cycle.
100. Honestly, I eat about 4 meals a day and I look forward to every single one of those meals. I
Yeah,
enjoy my food, and that's the way it
yeah.
should
You
be.
enjoy
That's
food
the
so
way it
much
should.
more.
100%. And the ironic thing is, when you actually start including foods you enjoy, that word diet, it's so many negative connotations for people.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
doesn't feel like a diet. It's just something that you do. Just like you get up, you go to work, you go to the gym. This is just something else you do. You eat these foods because you enjoy them and they get you the results you desire. So again,
yeah, yeah.
sustainability is key. Including foods you enjoy is key. Adam, you've got some real amazing recipes thrown up on
Yeah, yeah.
on your IG page. Everyone definitely check it out. Some real fantastic recipes there. But tell us then, Adam, what doesn't challenge you doesn't change you. And I know, like, when it comes to sustainability and balance, that's important in the long term. But
Yeah,
sometimes you got to go out of balance to get to extreme, to really
yeah,
like
yeah,
to achieve something that's not normal.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's
So
extremes of both sides of it. Like,
of course, and stepping up on stage, getting to that level of physique, that real low lean level of body fat, like that's one extreme. So tell us then, like, just I'd love to hear your experience of, we'll say, peak week, the last 7 days or so
yeah,
leading up to it, Adam. Why don't you just share a bit of information about that?
yeah. Like, so there's extremes, of all sports, I guess, and it's not the way you should live on a day-to-day basis. I think that's important
100%.
to say, for a health and safety background, that like it's not sustainable long term. You can do it for a couple of weeks, or like a week or two max, when you're in that kind of stage, and it's like it's just something, that you have to be aware it's not sustainable. It's something you're in of and you're out of just as quick. But those like last couple of weeks, they were hard. As I said, the whole process of losing the weight and losing that bulk of weight was fine because there was so much there to lose. But then getting to the last bit and to be, stage ready, it's a different level. It really, really
100%.
is. And yeah, like the last couple of weeks, the calories got down to 1,900, I believe, the lowest as far as I can remember, and wasn't too bad, when we started on them. And then after like a week or so on those, I think it was like 2 weeks we may have been on those. It started to get that little bit harder. And I remember, I
Yes.
think
Yeah.
the week of the show, the show was on the Sunday, so the previous Wednesday was when it really kicked in. I remember, or even sorry, the Tuesday, Wednesday
Awesome,
kicked
man.
in. That yeah, I was dead. Like I even like yeah, like the past week catching up with all my clients. You know, first thing was like apologies, I wasn't 100% that those days,
Yeah,
like because I couldn't sit at the desk, I couldn't focus like, and it wasn't that I was tired, I just had no energy. Like if I went down
there
to
you
lie
go.
down and try to sleep, I'm not going to
Yeah,
sleep. I was getting like 4 or 5 hours sleep at night because all my body wants to do, it goes back to the the ancestry times of like, if you were hungry, your body's going to save that energy to go and hunt or to go and get food. So you don't want to do
100%.
anything but do that. So it's a weird state to be in. But I remember, the workouts, the week before the show, they start to go into more high volume, weight starts to lower because we
Yeah,
just want to move blood. We don't want to cause
pump
any like
work.
stress. Yeah, so we basically, sorry, I say we, I mean like myself, my coach Dan Viola. I don't know if you've come across him, but so when I say we, that's what I mean. But
Yeah,
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 we like a team basically. The two of us in it. But you know, the sessions, like if they were any harder than just doing the high volume, low weight, it would be extremely difficult. Like I was getting in and out of the gym, after the gym, even I had 200 or 300 calories to get home and maybe have a little bit of tuna, a little bit of like fruit and veg, but I didn't feel like even eating, which was weird because I just felt so like sick, tired, nauseous, dizzy.
deprived.
Like
Yeah,
it wasn't too bad the Tuesday, Wednesday was okay. Then the Thursday night, I remember, I had to leave the gym halfway through my session, and I just like got into the car. I was like maybe getting sick. It's crazy because this is the extreme of it. It really is.
yeah.
Um, I was getting, I felt like getting sick. I got sick a little. It's not nice, and I remember just going home, getting into bed, and I was like, oh, okay, it's a few more days, and then as we got on to the Friday, it was fine, and then the excitement
Carbon
starts
up.
to build.
Yeah,
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 and then we start
yeah,
carving up on the Friday, so it was
yeah.
nice then.
That's
So it really like allows you then that you're not like dying or torturing yourself right into the show, that you can start to get really excited and start to enjoy it then. So it's like the last couple of days weren't nice, but then you start to come back to this normality, and the excitement kind of buffers all that as well.
100%. Yeah, man, I can relate to that too. So you went down from, like, just for anyone listening, 5,000 down to 1,900. That's over a
Yeah,
over 100% reduction, or
yeah.
in overall calories. I remember when I did my shoot last year,
You were
1,500 maybe the
insane. You were in
week.
insane shape. Yeah,
1,500 in the week leading up to now, Adam. I didn't have as much time to do mine as yours. I did this over a couple of week periods, so it
yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
even that sustainable. But I knew that I didn't go extreme in the bulk end, so I didn't have to go too extreme in the
yeah.
cut end. But
Exactly. Yeah,
man, everything you said there, I remember the Saturday before the show, um, first gym session, I just could not complete. Like, I just had to go inside. I'd client
yeah,
check-in calls that day. Usually I like to take the calls like I'm doing this podcast standing. Just had to sit down, and I was like a bag of shit all day because
yeah. At least you were
it
showing up. At least
just,
you were doing it, man.
oh, but still, yeah. And small little things like, the remote falls on the floor. I don't really want to pick that up because that requires
No, no,
extra
no.
energy, or putting on like a comedy. I don't really want to do that because that's going to make me laugh, which requires, it's
Yeah,
amazing the way the body tries to reserve, as you said, going back to those ancestral days of just survival when you're
yeah.
down in that real low stage. And then tell us, Adam, though, what doesn't challenge you doesn't change you. And for me, it was one of the most rewarding things, probably the most rewarding thing I did last year, like just doing that shoot itself. So tell us
Yeah.
about your experience, Adam. Like, when you challenge yourself and you do something that's really difficult, but then you prove to yourself, because you mentioned lacking confidence, but then when you stepped up there and you did it, you placed second, looking absolutely fantastic. Like, tell us just how that made you feel, Adam.
Oh yeah, it's a different level of feeling. It really is, and it's something I think I lacked a lot of. Not competing in any type of sport for so long, that feeling you get, on the golf pitch or the soccer pitch, whatever it happens to be, or scoring a try, or getting a hole in one, whatever it happens to be, that feeling, like you don't get that every day, and you really don't. And it's strange because bodybuilding, men's physique, it is such a strange, not a strange sport, but it's different. And a lot of people don't get it. But getting on stage, being up there and hitting the poses, it's like every pose you hit is like scoring that goal. It's a crazy feeling. And the more you're up there, the more happier, excited you get. Like at the start, when I first stepped up, I was the first one up in my class, so it was kind of didn't really know exactly what I was doing. I obviously first time competing. A lot of the other guys, I think I was probably the youngest there by at least 10 years, which was another thing. That was mad. But yeah, stepping up and getting onto the stage. The longer I was up there, I settled in. Being up there first kind of is a little bit of a shock. It's a little bit of like, I've never experienced this before. I've done presentations in college, things like that, but these are things like I would have dreaded years ago. I remember in school, my mom had to go in one time and tell all the teachers, "Don't ask Adam to read. He can't." Because I remember my voice just going so shaky. People in the class were like, "Are you crying?" Because I just couldn't do it. Like, my confidence was so low. But over the last year and having that focus and challenging myself more and more, I just built up this confidence that stepped on stage, felt a little bit of like, "Oh, this is different. I haven't been in this environment before." And then starting to really enjoy it. You have to put on that smile, on stage. It's the presentation of it. And I remember putting the smile on at the very start when I stepped out. And I was like, this is kind of unnatural. It doesn't feel like normal. It doesn't feel like, me, because it was like, I was putting it on. But then as soon as I got comfortable on stage, I just started smiling and being the happiest I've ever been. Just because it's like, I feel so comfortable. I feel so good. I feel like that feeling of scoring a goal. You're just consistently getting it for whatever amount of time you're on stage. It felt like probably, hours, but it's probably only, about 10 minutes maybe. But yeah, it's a different experience. It really, really is. And I didn't know what way I was going to react. You never know until you put yourself in a situation what way you're going to react or how you're going to feel. But yeah, the feeling is insane, and I'm still, still right now, since then I'm just living on this high, living in the clouds of feeling incredible. Really, really am.
Unbelievable. Yeah, man, unbelievable. Sounds amazing there, everything you said. And just living in the high, as you said, in cloud nine, like
Yeah,
there's anything you do in life that challenges you and you push through it. It's
yeah,
just it's so remarkable, and not all stress is bad. Like, there is some good form and some bad form of stress, and when you kind of stress your body and you push through it and you overcome it, it really builds you from the inside out, and that builds your
yeah, yeah,
confidence. That makes you feel better. It just improves your overall, I guess, just your overall kind of sense of self-belief, passion, and everything in between.
yeah. It
And
all builds.
it really
Really
does. And I know, Adam, no more than myself, you're someone who's into like just personal development,
Yeah,
mindset, books, and obviously, doing what you've done and stepping up on stage, that does require a lot of confidence. And obviously you're based on your
yeah,
physical abilities, but it's your mentality and your mindset that
yeah,
actually,
yeah.
is what gets you there. So tell us, Adam, like, let's just chat briefly for a couple of minutes on like the importance of working on yourself mentally as much as physically.
Yeah, yeah. So like, if you were to have invited me in this podcast, I want to say, a year ago today, I wouldn't have come on. I was invited on a podcast like in the last year, so I said no. I said, made up all the excuses. Or if I'd avoid doing presentation class, I'd avoid, in my college course, I'd avoid a lot of these things because it's my worst fear. It really was. I'm unrecognizable from where I am today, and that all comes with challenging myself that little bit every day. It comes with, thinking positively. A massive thing I've gotten into, since starting that focus, since starting that cut, and trying to better myself and improve. Because if you're not improving, again, as you said many times, if you're not challenging yourself, you're going to stay, in the same position. Or if you're doing the same thing every day, you're never going to progress. So I knew, okay, I need to, like, my ambitions are so big. I knew I needed to challenge myself that little bit. And what I really got into was just the whole positive thinking. A big um, influence on that was my uncle, who is an entrepreneur himself. He has a massive business, and he put me on to Bob Proctor, and I've listened to Bob Proctor
Oh
every
my
single day, I
God.
think, since a
Passed
year
away
ago.
about, yeah, he
Yeah,
passed
yeah,
away
it's
just
crazy.
over a month ago.
person who will live forever. Though, they really will. And listen to him every day, just like thinking positively about every situation, building that focus, and then what you're thinking about most of the time is what you become, and that's what I like. I firmly believe in that because, as I
100%.
say, a year ago today, I would have been this person that would have just said to you, when you text me the other day, I would have said, no, like, look, I'm a bit busy at the moment. I'm finishing up college now in the next like month, and I'm too busy, which I'm not. I have all the time in the world. I'm so flexible with my time, I can do it, and I'm so glad that you give me the opportunity as well to hop on and do that, because again, this is something that I haven't done before, but it challenges me, and I love it. I really do. You become addicted to progressing positively, and the more time goes on, like the more experience you get with it, and the more it builds. But again, like all the books, all the listening, all these things that I've done. When I started that, I'd done it like once a week. Even previous to that, I would have picked up a book and put it down, read one book a year. Now I'm reading like, I've read 4 or 5 books already this year, and like because I just love it. So that's why I'm saying that is because it doesn't happen overnight. You're not going to wake up one morning and think, oh, everything's perfect, I'm going to be this positive, productive person. It really is what you think about most of the time. So it's like easing into that. It's like if you're, just trying to consciously, make yourself think about it for a minute a day, then it's 2 minutes, a week later, then
100%,
eventually
man.
it's like right now, even, when I'm not thinking about anything, of out on a walk, or, even just between calls or anything like that, I'm always just like, it's just in my head. I'm like, I'm confident, I'm happy, I'm progressing, I'm like, enjoying life. Like these are the kind of
Wow.
thoughts. Whereas before
Your
it was like,
self-talk.
yeah, prior to that, it was like, I can't do this. I'm suffering from anxiety. Anxiety is my life. I'm going to live like this forever. Whereas now it's so bright.
Wow.
But
Yeah,
it's
I
just,
think
yeah,
there's
it's not
such
thinking that
power
it's
in
going to
that.
be perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such power in that. I think there's so much power too in your self-talk. Like there's stories you repeat to yourself every single day. It'll bring you up or it'll pull you down, depending on what you say. Like that's why, if you say I'm a bad I'm a bad cook, or I'm a bad deadlifter, or I'm a bad reader, or I'm bad at my job, whether that's true or not, if you believe that, like that's just going to manifest and you're going to make
Yeah.
mistakes. Just like as you were saying, instead of saying I'm unconfident, I'm confident.
Yeah.
Tell
It works
yourself
both ways. Yeah.
it works both ways. Like literally, this morning, what I do every single morning when I wake up, I get up early as well. And the first thing I'll do is I'll put on a podcast. And
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
podcast, like, I know I don't know the content of it, but I know I have an idea of what's going to be played. And this morning,
Yeah.
for instance, I'm sure you're familiar, Dr. Joe Dispenza. Have
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like,
I've come
oh, it's
across them.
just
Yeah. Yeah.
so incredible. Just so incredible. And he mentions the power of visualization. See yourself as the person you want to become,
Yeah.
and just visualize that person every single day. Repeat to yourself every single day. And it's because the amazing thing he says is there, the mind doesn't recognize the difference between something that you visualize and something that happens in reality,
Yeah.
which basically just goes to show that you can visualize every single thing you want.
Mhm.
As Stephen R. Covey says, everything must be created twice, first in the mind and then
Yeah.
in actual reality. So
Yeah.
visualize the person you want to become. Start listening to good podcasts, start reading some good books, train the mind just like you train the body.
Yeah. Become obsessed with it. It's a
Become
thing.
obsessed, literally
Yeah.
obsessed, and your outwards, your reality, your personal reality, it is who you actually become. Tell us, Adam,
Yeah.
just what have been some of your favorite books that you've been reading, just on the personal development side.
Yeah. So the one that I kind of started out with was like when I started the cut, and started that kind of focus, was just something that was really nice to read. I felt wasn't too heavy. Was The Secret, very very popular one. It was nice kind of way to get into that kind of manifestation and that thinking positively. So that was nice. And then another one, Think and Grow Rich, is an incredible one. And I think a lot of people will think of that being like, oh, it's just about making money. It's really, really not. It's just, again, about enforcing that positive thinking. which is nice. And then another couple to mention: Atomic Habits, James Clear,
Brilliant.
the 12 Rules of Life, or even then another one, Jordan Peterson, is great. So yeah, just becoming fully immersed, among like all these kind of voices, and just having these kind of voices from, I'll always read kind of two books at one time, one being maybe a bit more business, one being a bit more self-help.
Yeah.
And I'll be listening to a podcast. I'm always having these, voices in my ear, or whether it's listening to the Bob Proctor videos every single morning. It's like a 12-step process that I have, and I just keep re-watching the videos. It's just, engraving it in my mind, and again, at the start, it was consciously doing it. Now it's very much unconsciously doing it, but still, having that repeated voice in my head, of like positivity.
Everyone listen to this, it pays off. When I
Yeah,
started
yeah,
out
yeah,
doing it, I thought it was like, I don't know, I thought this is just for for people who meditate 3 hours a day. Like, I'm a
yeah, yeah,
weirdo doing this, because
yeah,
that was just the real self-limiting belief that I had, the fixed mindset that I had. But
yeah,
honestly, you got to work in your mind, you got to train the mind just as you train your body, and it does really manifest into reality.
yeah,
Adam, this has been absolutely awesome. It really has.
yeah, absolutely.
Everything from, sharing your backstory, your anxiety, the process of going from 113 to 80 kilos, flexible dieting, sustainability, mindset. We chatted about a lot here, Adam, but if you just wrap it up, like, what are maybe 1 to 3 takeaways you'd like our listeners to implement after listening to this podcast?
Um, I think the biggest thing has to be, don't close doors, or don't limit yourself. Even if you, like, whether it's something just small, or whether you do find yourself in that like darkest place or that lowest point in your life, there is always that hope. I know that's something so trivial that we hear all the time. It's like, oh, it's always light at the end of the tunnel, but there really is. And I know it's so hard to believe in that when you're at that point. But I was there. I thought that the world was going to fall apart. I thought everyone was going to leave me. I thought I was going to be, this person who lives in, a dark room the rest of my life. And the difference now is incredible. And I never say that to like brag, or to say, oh, I'm so
100%.
good now, I'm better than other people. That's not the case whatsoever. I want to share that, to be like, this is an example of, you can be at this lowest point and get to, not the highest point, but a work in progress, and you can learn and manage all these things. But just never close the door on that, and don't limit yourself. Has
So
to be,
powerful. So powerful. Yeah, like, just when you think of it, the Wright brothers, they flew
yeah, yeah,
planes now, like there's these
yeah,
things in the sky flying
yeah,
above us that are managing to stay up without
yeah,
falling down. Like,
yeah. That's
if
what
you
everything
told
you
them to be
see. Yeah,
realistic, everything we
yeah.
see.
Was a thought. It all, every
Yeah,
every single thing, whether it's as simple as like a traffic sign, or paint on a wall. It was all a thought. Like, it didn't exist. It sounded crazy at the time, but now it's something so normal. So anything is
it
possible.
is. Like, I heard Elon Musk saying last night that in the next 25 years,
Mm.
going on to virtual reality, like, he envisions that instead of having, let's just say you wanted someone to do your cooking for you, he
Yeah,
envisions that you'll actually, have a robot there. You tell him or her what you want to cook, and they'll
yeah,
just do that for you. Like, this is where
yeah, yeah.
things are going. So, if you're
I
there
believe it.
thinking,
Anything he
I
says
would
is
believe it,
possible.
but if we're thinking that, geez, I'm never going to be able to lose this weight, I'm unhappy in my clothes, I'm not confident in myself, I'm permanent, I don't like my job, this is my reality. Like, just think a bit wider now. Think more that
Yeah,
you
yeah,
actually are capable of making this change. It starts with just working on the mind, working on the body, and doing it consistently every single day.
yeah.
So
Be optimistic. Yeah,
be optimistic.
yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Adam, I just want to thank you so much again, and really acknowledge you just for, like, we both love fitness, but it's
yeah,
really, I think, what comes across from what you're saying there, it's how it builds you from the inside out. It's the mindset. Those mental gains are much more rewarding than the physical gains. And
yeah,
I really feel that comes across in you as a person, and then your content too. I love your whole, like, flexibility and sustainability aspect, something I'm into myself. So just to finish off, Adam, two final questions I always like to ask. So the first
Yeah,
one is,
shoot.
I love morning routine. So I'm just curious, Adam, what do the first like 30 to 60 minutes, just briefly, of your day look like?
So I'll always like, or not, I'll always, I've now jumped into, being getting up early, like from the kind of habits I've built over the last while. Previously saying I would have got up at like 1 or 2 or 3 in the day. Now it's 6 a.m. and I'm like, every morning feels like Christmas for me now. I like so excited for life, so excited for the day. So I'm up. I'm always thinking in my head. It's if there's ever a morning where I'm a little bit sleepy, or I'm like 3, 2, 1, I'm up. And some days I'm like, oh, I want to stay in bed. I'm a little bit tired. I'm like, no, I'm up before I even know it. So the first 30, 60 minutes, I'm up. I jump in the shower. I'm a freak when it comes to showers. I have like 2 or 3 a day. I'm
Wow.
weird like that. So I jump up, have a shower straight away, and then I do a weigh in. Usually, I get dressed and I'm up out the door, grab a coffee, grab the dog, and we're out. Prior to that was something, a habit I built up over the prep, which was getting to the gym and getting cardio done every morning. Now it's carrying on with those good habits, but in a more sustainable fashion. It's something I enjoy a bit
Gotcha.
more.
Yeah,
So
I
it's just,
love it.
it's up, getting out for a walk, putting a podcast in, listening to something,
There
whether
we
it's
go.
business, whether it's self-help, whether it's mindset. That's how the first 30, 60 minutes looks like.
Train the body, train the mind. I love it. And
Yeah.
finally, Adam, last question, because this is the Lifestyle Lifters show, what is your definition of living a successful lifestyle?
I guess it's the word I just use all the time. It's sustainability. It's what works for you, and it's going to be different for every person. Everyone's going to be completely different. And so it's just finding again what you love, what you like doing, and do that consistently. It doesn't have to be getting to the gym. It doesn't have to be going out for runs. It doesn't have to be going out swimming. It has to be what you like. Whether it's, I had a client that he found out he loved going out rowing on the River Liffey. He does that every week, and he loves doing that. It doesn't feel like exercise, but it is, and it's great. So just that's an example of it. But just finding what you love doing and do it every single day.
Brilliant. I love it, man. I love it. Awesome. Adam, thank you so much. Absolute
Yeah, I
pleasure now
appreciate it,
having
man.
you on. This has been a great chat. So tell us, Adam,
Yeah.
where can people learn more about you?
Yeah, so my I guess, alter ego, or my name is Factual Physique across all platforms. So just plain and simple Factual Physique, and you'll find me TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, anywhere. It's all the same.
I'll post a link, everyone, to Adam's IG page in the show notes. And if you did listen to the show and you did get value from it, just please pay it forward. Pay the small fee. Share it on your IG stories. Tag Adam at Factual Physique. Tag me at Mac Lifestyle Fitness, and we'll repost it on our stories.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
everyone, thank you so much for listening. Adam, absolute pleasure again. Genuinely, such a fantastic chat. Thank you so much for being here. Absolute pleasure, man.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. Thanks for the opportunity.